put it in the YouTube chat, and if anybody wants to come on. I was saying before, Mitch, I don't know if you heard me. Oh, whoops, wait a minute. I'm not on full screen. Saw someone on Twitter refer to being in a turkey coma. Oh, no. Oh, can you hear? No?
I can't tell how I'm hearing you.
Oh, huh.
Oh, speakers.
Gotcha.
So I just did great guest as always, John Papa and this guy Paul Lado, and it was an election integrity discussion. But I'm just really frustrated with the subject at this point, I think. I'm just, John said don't let the apathy set in. But I'm just tired of there not being solutions, Just how many more elections are we going to go through? I mean, anyway.
The biggest part right now to me is policy. With the Iowa Democratic Party brazenly trying to rig it by using nursing homes.
Right.
But they're going to rig every aspect of it that they can.
They're opening the Iowa caucus to nursing homes in all 50 states. Yeah,
you told us about that. All someone has to do is say they consider themselves an Iowan?
Yeah, they say, are you an Iowan? They don't have to show proof.
How is this even...
And to me, if you're a resident of a nursing home, right there, that's the key.
Yeah.
Resident of a nursing home in another state.
Right.
The only people I see valid are people in the service.
Are people what?
Or like if you're in the military or you're an ambassador or you're working at a consulate, something like that.
Right.
I don't see any other reason for you not to be a resident of Iowa to be limited to the Iowa caucus. I mean, I shouldn't be able to vote in the Illinois primary.
Right, exactly.
In fact, Illinois primary, they might have left me alone in the room with the voting machines, but they asked me to show my ID first.
Fascinating. I don't know. I'm just, I'm discouraged. Oh, hi, Rich.
Hey, Rich.
Happy Thanksgiving or happy Black Friday. Who else didn't go out to a mall?
I didn't go to a mall.
Yeah.
I just went to a store. And so I've got a monitor going out. Occasionally you'll see everything go dark to my left.
Okay.
So I really can't live without a computer monitor. Well, actually, 3. So my left one's left one's going out, and the way I work, the left one is actually my main monitor. So I'll be moving my center monitor over there and putting the nice big curved screen in the middle.
How are you doing, Rich? Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I'm still alive. Yeah.
You're still...
That's always good.
Yeah,
when I would call my grandparents who lived to be 96 and 95, but the last 5 years or so I'd call and I'd ask my grandfather how he was doing, and he said, well, I'm not buying any green bananas.
What?
That's what he would say.
What does that mean?
He didn't know if he was going to be there by the time they ripened, I guess.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. He also
I didn't get that one either.
Oh, okay. He also one time on the phone was telling me about all of his different pills, and it was like Nexium or something, but he called it his Viagra, and I was like, I don't need to hear this. Totally a joke, but anyway. Yeah. They had a good sense of humor and were very with it up until the very end.
Oh, my Viagra was
good. Viagra is also good for altitude sickness and headaches.
Oh, really?
Huh.
Guess that.
So I need Viagra. Huh? No,
Well, I wouldn't just take it. I would talk to your doctor first.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I checked that out first. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was just saying I had a good. Well, I'm a perfectionist. I don't think my interviewing skills are a bit rusty right now. But anyway, I had great guests on for this discussion about election integrity again. I'm just a bit. I hate to admit it, but a bit apathetic about it all because nothing's changing, and I don't know what's next to do. I mean,
Yeah.
there are people that have good solutions, but they can't get anything implemented. I mean, until the public really understands the problem is, I don't know.
We need to actually get a more public exposure. So
Right.
far, we have a small audience. There's another group that has a growing audience. I think you might want to collaborate with.
You told me about the guys in Chicago, right? What are they called?
Chicago, Hard Lens Media.
Hard Lens Media.
Yeah.
I talked to them, and they would be open to talking to you.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I've been off for months. I really do love doing this. I think that I have gotten too down in the weeds with the election integrity stuff. I mean, it is a very important subject, but I have other subjects that I want to talk about. I mean, I'll never let that one go, but I don't want to be, knowing all the details about every single machine and all that. No, I want to cover it, host a panel, have a good discussion, and get candidates on board with fighting for it. But yes, that's rain. My daughter's asking if that's rain. Yeah, rain in California. Imagine that. Yeah, we're live. Zoe, would you like to say hello?
No,
You can be on YouTube. Okay. She's like, not with you. Maybe if it were something
Oh, yeah,
cool.
see my little sign? That's an
I'm
old
just-
T-shirt.
Oh, yeah. What is... Oh, independent like you. Oh, very cool. Do you have any extras?
I have a few of them around, but
Oh, I'd love to have one of those.
okay, it has like 2000, 2002, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's got
Yeah.
a couple years on there.
Hey, you keep
I can't
trying.
cross them out putting the new year.
Yeah. Hey, you keep trying. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And right now I'm getting signatures for Andrew Yang to get on the primary ballot in Kentucky. And considering if I could afford
Hey,
it,
let's-
I may be getting become a delegate for Andrew Yang in Kentucky. It depends upon what happens in the first two states. So, because our primary election is not until May.
Right. Happy Black Friday, Aeolus.
Thank you. Happy Black Friday to you all. I hope you have been enjoying your time engaging in what America does best, which is mindless consumerism.
Yeah, no, we've been avoiding it. No,
I didn't either.
avoiding
I didn't buy a thing today except for I bought a tub chair for my brother to take his bath. So he's because he's a little bit disabled. So I'm trying to get him more accommodated to the house after he's gotten out of a rehab place.
Right.
I had a situation to deal with.
I forgot all about this being a boycott day.
Oh,
I've gone without for so long.
I've done my best to try and avoid having to spend money on Black Friday sales as much as possible. Although that said, I have been looking into getting some a four pack of curated soaps from Bearsville.
okay.
I've been really enjoying their peppermint scrub one.
Oh, cool. Well, hey, why not?
And it's natural soap. It's honest to God natural made soap. So old.
But you're not out in a stampede at Walmart for it.
Fuck
So
that.
yeah.
Fuck that. Yeah. Also, you can't get. Besides, you can't even get it at the store. So. Well,
I did not see stampedes today.
Really, I think maybe people are kind of over it now. Just it's not. I don't know.
No one has money anymore.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, no money.
Nobody has that money anymore, and whatever we could have money for, we can just get online.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Like, why would we want to get ourselves stampeded and potentially shot?
Well, I think they used
when we
to.
have the internet.
They used to, yeah, right. They used to just say, like, hold off those sales until Cyber Monday, right? But I think now it's just everywhere across the board because they're just trying to get people to spend any way they can. So,
I mean, just think about this for a second. We're still in the process of, oh Jesus Christ, like, we're in the process of still celebrating Christmas. Now we've gone to the point where we've pushed this back to the beginning of November.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking with a friend of mine in the UK, and she was telling me, like, yeah, even we don't start busting out Mariah Carey until like at least December.
This came up last week at school at a meeting about gripes that the teachers had. And apparently all of the other schools have started doing 1 week off for Thanksgiving. And somebody brought up the idea that it's too late in the semester to have something off in a week in October instead. The last week of October, have it off. And, you know, why couldn't we have a presidential decree to move it forward so we could have a fall break like we have a spring break?
Yeah.
And like I said, the other schools in Iowa are doing it. And then since we're a smaller college, we actually share dorms with a large college here. So the large college dorm students are off this week. And our students had to go to school for 3 days.
That is odd. I mean, I know public schools, high schools.
We are public.
Yeah.
We are. Well,
Right.
I mean, we're a community college system run by the state.
Oh, I have to.
What's the name of your school?
Should I say online? I'm not representing them, so I probably shouldn't say.
Oh, okay. I have to crack a joke. I'm sorry, AOS, you mentioned Mariah Carey, like Christmas music. I think that might be right up there with like hold music for whatever, Verizon or your credit card company or the CVS. Oh my God. The CVS hold music is like, this is what you hear upon, entering hell. Like, you have to be like subjected to this hold music,
Look, I would say that, but I do have a number of friends, and Japanese friends, who actually really do like that around Christmas time. So
well, sure, like, it's just too early. I get it, but it's to me,
it's not the song itself; it's the timing.
Yeah,
it's just the timing.
Well, okay. I mean, I don't mind that. What was
to be honest, like within the last 30 years or so, has there really been that many memorable Christmas songs aside from that one? Like that's
Jack
like the first
Johnson's
one in like 30 years.
Jack Johnson's version of Rudolph. That's not bad. Band.
I mean,
wait, what was that? Was it Band
like,
Aid
that did the original music, not not just covers?
No, that was definitely more than 30 years ago. Band Aid.
I used to work for a Japanese company, and what was strange was we were big in consumer projects in both the United States and Japan, and the old ship date to make it to United States stores for Christmas was September. So August and September, their factories were blasted with Christmas music.
That's why they have those nets out for the iPhone factories. Sorry, I'm just making bad jokes. For the people that are flinging themselves off the side of the
actually horrible.
Good point.
But a lot of Japanese communities actually would go around singing Christmas music, about ship time for products.
Okay.
And they were so surprised when they come over to the United States and we're all doing Christmas music at Christmas.
Oh, okay. No, I can get into it. It's just when it goes on that long, it just gets really old. So,
No, but my school, a lot of the teachers want to start a thing where we ask we started a movement to have an October fall break.
Yeah, that does
And-
make more sense. Because you end up like with it being crunch time at the end of the semester. I can remember this. We had huge papers that would be due, on the Monday after Thanksgiving break, which
We
seemed like
Apparently we
torture,
can't-
but it was just the norm because that's nearing the end of the semester. It's so.
apparently a lot of students really significantly lower their grades because they won't come back after Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
And so what we do is we have 8-week courses, we have 12-week courses, and we have 16-week courses. So the 8-week courses would end on like for this year end October 21st. We'd take a week off and then have the second 8-week class. But that would require a presidential decree basically to move Thanksgiving to October.
Okay. It's like Canadian Thanksgiving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Canadian Thanksgiving is in October.
Is it the third week of October?
You know what? I should know this, but I don't remember.
Canadian.
This is the first I've heard of it.
Really? Yeah, no, it's in October. I should know this, but I don't. I can't remember because I didn't really. I spent summers and like maybe holiday, over Christmas there. I was never there in October, but I just remember that it was in October.
What is that based on? The Pilgrims and Pocahontas and John Smith and all that? It's not.
Well,
It makes more sense than November.
well,
It makes
especially
more
in
sense than
Canada,
November.
if you want to freeze your butt off,
Canada, October 14th this year.
Okay, but I
When-
guess it rotates like Americans. I'm not sure. I honestly don't remember.
But when would the harvest have been 200 years ago? Or 150 years ago when Canada split?
Yeah, I don't know.
200.
Second. Wait a
They
minute.
used to have the harvest done before it snowed.
Listen.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I did not know this. Bad half Canadian that I am. Thanksgiving in Canada is on Monday. It's the second Monday of October since 1957. I don't know what they did before that, and my grandparents aren't here for me to ask. Interesting. On a Monday. Okay. I don't know what it was prior to 1957. Very interesting. Okay. From the end of the First World War until 1930, it was celebrated on the Monday closest to November 11th, the anniversary of the official end of hostilities in World War I. Okay. Interesting. I had no idea. So, second Monday in October. See?
I would like that.
It's,
Why not change, Jim?
right. Educational programming here.
Right.
So,
No.
well, what's everybody, what are you guys working on?
Trying to survive finals week.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Cool.
That's part of what I'm doing. The other half of it is just watching the American political scene continue its spiraling descent into the Truman Show.
Uh-huh.
Right.
You have finals week this week?
No. So Dead Week is for me next week, and then the week after that is going to be my finals. But I've been studying basically for the last week or two, trying to prep up for finals.
Okay, you're basically a week ahead of us.
Yeah.
We get out December 19th.
Yeah. So so I'm just trying to get that done because I would like to pass my first grad class with an A. Like that would be nice.
No, I got
Partly because I kind of flubbed the last exam.
my
I'm
new
guessing
book,
that you.
but I haven't read it yet. I got my new book.
Ah, shit. I still need to finish through Conquest of Bread.
No.
You keep reminding me I need to start working on my political praxis, and I have been woefully falling behind on.
Well, I'm still not finished with this one either, but I have read most of it now. I just tend to start one book and move to
Is that
another.
written by an Orwell, or is it about him?
No, this is History of the National Security State. This was the book that Assange had in his hand when they pulled him out of the embassy. So I don't think that was an accident, you know. I mean, or I don't know.
Understand the origin.
Do what?
You understand the origins of the military internet when you read about hot potato communications.
Hot potato communications. Okay, I don't know.
The internet was originally meant for the signal to find its way to its target, even if multiple paths were broken. And the way they did it was by mimicking the game of hot potato. Whenever you get a potato thrown to you, you throw it to somebody else immediately until it gets to the person that wants it.
Okay. Well,
so it doesn't care who you throw it to. You just keep throwing it, and eventually.
That sounds like a really inefficient protocol, but it also kind of makes sense why you do it in order to set up the infrastructure.
It was meant to be for you to use when you had several thousand options of how to get something somewhere, and you expected many or very large percent of them to be compromised.
Gotcha.
This is a very thick book. I recommend listening to a podcast where Yasha Levine was talking about the book. If you want like an abbreviated version, I'll have to find the link. But
when you're not reading that book, do you have to store it in aluminum foil?
Maybe I should.
Nice.
Maybe I should. Yeah. I don't know. I right now I have, aside from my personal life that's very distracting, you know, the move and everything, I just am like I'm having a really hard time. I can't really get into the whole fiasco of the debate. I'd love to hear more that you have to say, or the whole primary, all of it. I'm having a very hard time caring about it.
Let's be honest, the primary is a shit show.
Yes, it is a shit show, and I'm very, you know, the whole situation with Assange. You guys know how much, you know, I focus on that. You know, that's just not going anywhere and not looking good. And I don't know. I just feel like we're kind of I don't know what's next. I mean, what is next?
Honestly, I wish I had an answer for that, but the reality is I don't really think, because the reality is that we're not even at the worst part of this yet.
Yeah.
Right.
We're still miles
behind. When Biden starts winning all the primaries in the South,
fuck that.
With a lot of black people,
don't even joke
all of a
about
sudden,
that.
he becomes the nominee of the Democratic Party.
I think Trump's going to win again.
Yeah, I can feel that, and it's just, it fills me with depression. This should be one of the easiest elections. This should have been one of the easiest possible elections for the Democrats to be able to win, and yet they seem no, seriously. Seriously.
Yeah, they could if they decided to ever represent the people at all. But they're not going to.
This should be an easy victory, but it's just like they keep sabotaging themselves on purpose.
They're not going to represent the people. So people are going to think that Trump is the closest thing to doing that. I think he still has enough.
Which would do a lot to the democratic process. If we had open primaries in the states that have closed primaries, that would do a lot to let more people vote. You'd have more than 99% who would want change, you know, would be voting, and they would be voting for someone who is more progressive, like Bernie or Elizabeth Warren or whatever, you know, and wouldn't be controlled by the establishment.
I know, but you know what? It's like you were saying earlier, Mitch, that there's, I don't know, what do we have, 2 people watching this? I mean, even all the collective independent media, while it does have a lot of views, you still have more people watching, mainstream media, unfortunately. And until we can break through somehow with these subjects into that arena, I don't know how it's going to change, because
actually, now that you mentioned that, there is a video that comes to mind, and I regret that I didn't post this to us in the Twitter, in our Twitter feed.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I may have posted it in my own Twitter feed. Let me check that. There was a video by Peter Coffin I kind of ran across a few weeks ago.
Who's Peter? Who?
Peter Coffin. He's yes. Here it is. Allow me to post this for you guys in the chat.
Yep.
So, Peter Coffin is a sort of a leftist YouTuber. If you've watched he's been around really since the beginning of beginning of YouTube. So that's about 2006, 2008. So he's been here for pretty much every fucking fad you can imagine, from the whole creationism versus atheist brouhaha that had happened early in YouTube cycle to the present.
Mm-hmm.
Where we've now got sort of this sort of pseudo woke culture versus incels.
Okay, I'm on your Twitter page.
Yeah.
You put it in the messages. Okay.
And I put it in messages too.
Okay.
So what this particular video by Peter Coffin was talking about a debate he had with a man who, those of you who are familiar with gaming circles, and I assume Graham might be, have you ever heard of Root Destiny?
Brian.
Destiny is... Root Destiny was a former StarCraft 2 player. Now he does general video game streaming as well as political debates. And so Destiny is, to put it bluntly, he's kind of your typical liberal dude bro. But he offered Coffin an opportunity to sort of make his case on his live stream, which went about as well. I mean, from a owning the lib sense as you could probably expect whenever you leftists actually go onto liberal platforms. But Coffin describes what his goal was not to try and own Destiny, because going in on an enemy territory's platform is kind of setting yourself up to fail, especially if your goal is to go for the jugular and take him down in one fell swoop. That's generally not how debates work, and even if that were the case, doing it on somebody else's platform when you are already at an institutional disadvantage is setting yourself up to fail. Rather, what he suggests, instead of going in to win debates, the idea instead is to get the message out. Focus on discussing the message rather than trying to confront about the message.
Right.
And so he describes this in these terms. Part of the reason that the right was so successful, particularly during the Tea Party era, in terms of recruiting people to its ideas, was not the fact that they were winning debates on public television. The point for many of them was not winning debates. It was just getting the message out.
Right.
And if you could maybe convince one or two people in that audience to give you a second thought,
well,
that's the important part.
Yeah, this is what I've heard about Tulsi. A lot of people saying, like, that's the whole point with her being on the debate stage, is to kind of move the needle of public discourse on these issues, which that I can understand.
Right, and that's
the Tea Party wasn't. They early dominated the populist movement. They were populist when it wasn't popular. The Democrats never became populist, and so they could not give them any competition as far as being a popular movement. You know, they stayed a traditional establishment kind of party, and the Tea Party was the first populist movement in this country, actually. And they basically
the original Tea Party.
The Boston Tea Party. It was all based on the original anti-corporate movement in America to separate ourselves from Britain, to get away from corporations and that kind of thing. And they're all about the Tea Party was all about that concept, and populism, going all the way back to our earliest history. And so that's one of the reasons they became popular. They also became conservative at the same time, for various reasons, That's,
Well,
that's an guide, I hope, of some kind.
So that to me, I think, is a lesson that really, because when we're talking about leftist YouTube, when we're comparing it to, say, conservative YouTube, I mean, the gap between us, where we are in terms of our platform versus where most conservatives have their platforms, it's pretty stark. I mean, when you think about it in these terms, probably the most successful sort of hard leftist YouTuber that is out there right now, I can think of 3 names, maybe 2-3 names that come to mind.
Okay.
In terms of the most popular, you have ContraPoints, you have H Bomber guy, and maybe Destiny. He's liberal, but for the sake of it, we'll include him. We'll include him in. All of these together managed to make maybe a couple million. Problem. Or even if we want to include TYT and like Sam Cedar and those ilk.
Wait. I'm sorry.
No. Even if we included those guys with several million.
Are you talking about left?
Yeah. Just like, even if we included them, that's still maybe like some 5-6 million collective. Like 6 million is about what Steven Crowder could pull in. That's about.
Yeah, it's a stretch.
I can't call them left.
No.
I know it. I know. I get what you mean.
So, like, that's about what Steven Crowder can pull in. That's about what you can expect.
Yes. So we've talked about this
Crowder,
before.
Tommy Loren, the people who don't, or God forbid, Prager University. Jesus Christ.
But we've talked about this. How, if I'm understanding you correctly,
structurally they have a much more, and not to mention that the production level that most of these guys have is a lot better than what.
And they have so many viewers. I mean, I've talked about this before. The Hodge twins. Who's the liberal tears guy? He's so obnoxious, but. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot. Dice, Mark Dice. All I can think of is Andrew Dice Clay. I think that's it. Mark Dice. Anyway. But Mark they have a lot more viewers than, as you say, if you just combined all on the left. And I think that's where, we have to accept the fact that we're kind of in this little echo chamber bubble. Because Trump has a lot of support, and there's a lot of right-wing independent media out there that is dwarfing what we have. So.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, like, even if ContraPoints herself, I think she has maybe like 2 or maybe a million, maybe 2-3 million at most.
Well, what do you think is fueling this more now? Let's be real about this. Part of it
is institutional bias.
What is it? What's her name?
ContraPoints.
ContraPoints. I don't think I know this one.
Yeah.
Do I? Hang on.
She produces a lot. Now, her focus is largely on, if I remember correctly, she focuses a lot on sort of social issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she has close to around 0.8 million. Like, put that into perspective. This is one of the most popular leftist channels on YouTube right now. Still 0.8. Still 0.8 million.
Wait, which one?
Contra.
Oh,
Contra.
okay.
She's at like 0.8 million.
Okay.
Peter Coffin is 263,000.
Right.
Jimmy Dore's at like 500,000.
Right, exactly. And when you look at the right wing stuff, it's double that.
Yeah, easy.
Each one.
$20 million or whatever, you know.
Steven Crowder. Just Steven Crowder's at 4.23 million.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, he covered the whole thing when what was it? They used a VPN to Google Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. Prager University, 2.37 million.
Yeah. Okay, but I think what's fueling a lot of this, though, and we'll have some disagreement here, maybe, Aeolus, but I think it has to do with the media focusing on the impeachment hearings and this ongoing, as Trump says, witch hunt. But I think that is fueling the people.
Partially.
Okay.
Partially. But this has been a trend that has existed well before Trump's ascendancy to the office.
Sure.
Now, to put this into perspective, the situation leftist YouTube has now is a lot better than what it was during the Obama years, believe it or not. We've managed to, a lot of leftist YouTubers have managed to carve a space for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, people like us, people like Tim Black, people like Nico House, Jimmy Dore, just on the news end. And then for entertainers, we have sort of the ContraPoints, the H-Bomber guys.
But you know what? And I say this as I haven't even been on anymore. I think it's getting kind of stale. And I'm sorry to say that. I think it's not about a lack of talent. It's that, I mean, because there's some great independent lefty YouTuber people we know, people you just mentioned. But I think the coverage, with them just constantly covering the Democratic primary and the debates, it's just stale. It's like, oh my God, why are we still talking about this? Like, we need to stop giving that all the air in the room. I don't know. That's my opinion. We covered other things. I mean, if you look at what some of the subjects that these right-leaning YouTubers cover, it's more, I mean, might not be our style, but it's more broad, the subject matter.
Did anybody here notice Tom Steyer, the billionaire?
No, fuck that. We're not giving him any amount of.
No. His message. He's a billionaire, but his message is as a left populist.
What?
I say bullshit.
Yeah, I'm calling
that's what he talks about.
I'm calling bullshit square.
Well, go ahead. You know what he Bernie Sanders is on the left, obviously, and so is Elizabeth Warren. And Tom Steyer talks like he is. I don't trust the man. I don't believe him. But I mean, that's what he's saying. He talks about trying to get. He says there's about a third of the people turn out to vote. He says if we could, he has my message. If we could get all the people to vote, we would win hands down very easily. That's his message. He's talking about getting a populist movement to have people come out and vote and elect people who will represent the American people. That's what he's talking. That's his message.
But
which is all well and good. But the problem is that he spent the last 2-3 years trying to impeach Donald Trump from day one, or supposedly that's what he was doing. He was actually doing that in order to boost his donation numbers for running the primaries. Sort of.
If you look back over the past decade, he's been giving to lots of Democratic candidates, so they all are owing him. So you'll notice not a single Democratic candidate attacks him. So Steyer jumped in, and none of the others could complain. All of them have taken money from him except for Tulsi and Bernie.
Well, see, and here, Rich, I mean, with all due respect, I don't see Elizabeth Warren as left at all. I think she's not left. No.
I will say
she's really not.
Do you believe she would punch a banker in the throat if she thought she could get away with it? Yes.
But I don't know.
Well, she's a Harvard professor. She has that against her. I mean, I hold that against her because she's successful. She's very powerful. She has, she's a senator. She's, her whole life is based on getting people to have economic security in this country. That's what she fights for. Fought for all her life. She's the one who got the Consumer Protection Agency set up.
I remember.
She was the one who had that happen. She is the one person in this country that made that happen.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
Rich,
used to be.
If I could add to that,
please.
This is why I say, when it comes to financial regulation and oversight, I do genuinely believe that she is sincere about that part. That to me comes across as the most sincere aspect. That was her reason for going into politics. That is the reason why she's stayed in the game for as long as she has. I believe that part to be genuine about her. What I don't believe to be entirely honest about her reasons is everything else that's attached to that. Because part of this is that she's. I don't want to speak about her being in a completely derisively for the sake of honesty and fairness, but she is sort of a single issue politician, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if that was all that her job required her to do. But it's also but part of being a senator is also the fact that she's having to place votes on so many other key issues. We're talking stuff about foreign policy, about industrial regulation. We're talking about the military-industrial complex, drug and pharmaceutical companies. We're talking about climate crisis. These are issues that extend far and beyond just merely regulating the financial industry. And when push comes to shove on these, what Elizabeth Warren has shown time and time again, at least from my perspective, is that she is willing to sacrifice all those other things to get that one issue she cares about most pressed through, which is holding Wall Street down, Wall Street to account. Which as a political actor, I can't fault her for, not any more than I can fault the likelihood of Bernie Sanders willing to give the MIC a pass if it meant pushing his social class revolution forward. I believe that that's something. These are things that are intrinsic to who they are, or as politicians. And if it means sacrificing something, they'll do it. I understand that part. The problem is that what Warren is willing to sacrifice is important. Isn't just like one issue. It's so many other issues. And the fact that she is willing to cow to the party line whenever it's not in her field of expertise, that to me suggests not a quality of leadership. What it suggests to me is that she's going to play team. And the people who she's having to play team with are not people I consider to be honest actors for any member of the working class. And that's really the crux of the problem.
Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to read something from Noam Chomsky's book that I'm currently reading. It's regarding our election system and our democracy in general. It may be recalled that Nazi propaganda techniques were borrowed from business doctrines and practices that were mostly pioneered in the Anglo-American societies. These techniques were based on resort to simple symbols and slogans with tremendously reiterated impressions that appealed to fear and other elementary emotions in the manner of commercial advertising. A contemporary review observes, Goebbels scripted most of the leading commercial advertising men in Germany for his propaganda ministry and boasted that he would use American advertising methods to sell National Socialism, much as business seeks to sell chocolate toothpaste and patent medicines. These measures were frightfully successful in bringing about the sudden descent from decency to barbarism that Fritz Stearns describes with an ominous warning. And now Chomsky goes on to our own democracy here. Demonic messianism is a natural device for leadership groups that are at the extreme of the spectrum in their dedication to the short-term interests of narrow sectors of power and wealth and to global domination. It takes willful blindness not to see how these commitments guide current U.S. policy. The goals pursued and programs enacted are opposed by the public in case after case. That impels the need for mass mobilization and employing the skills of the huge industries that have been created in a business-run society to influence attitudes and beliefs. The need for such measures has taken on special importance during the past several decades, a highly unusual period of American economic history. When neoliberal style programs began to take shape in the 1970s, real wages in the United States were the highest in the industrial world, as one would expect in the richest society in the world with incomparable advantages. The situation has now dramatically changed. The real wages for the majority have largely stagnated or declined and are now close to the lowest level among industrial societies. The relatively weak benefits system has declined as well. Incomes are maintained only by extending working hours well beyond those in similar societies, while inequality has soared. All of this is a vast change from the preceding quarter century, when economic growth was the highest on record for a protracted period and also egalitarian. Social indicators, which closely tracked economic growth until the mid-1970s, then diverged, declining to the level of 1960 by year 2000. So what he's basically saying is what we're up against is a system that is designed to work against the will of the people. In other words, it's not democratic by nature. Its entire purpose is to ensure that the business corporate system remains in place and that those who serve it have no power. So what we're up against is a system that has no intent in serving the will of the people. So what we're trying to do here is enact a democracy that works to do exactly what the powers that be have already set up their system to not do. So that's what we're up against.
100%. That's what the Occupy movement was all about. To have the,
and that's why it had to be stifled. Right. That's why Obama made every effort to shut it down, because it was against the very system that was put in place.
Yeah, pepper spray and the whole damn thing. I mean, a policeman brutalizes people to get them to quit demonstrating. To quit being in the street.
And that's why certain policies were enacted after the Occupy movement. That's why Posse Comitatus is now dead.
What posse?
Posse Comitatus is now dead. That's the law that used to stipulate that our military could not basically act on our soil. In other words, that our military would not be able to impose its force on U.S. soil. That's gone. Obama did away with that.
Yeah, well, back during civil rights too, you had some of the National Guard come in to enforce people being able to black people to go into colleges and that sort of thing too. It was used. So it
right,
was.
but that was the National Guard. That was, I mean, that's state force. Now we're talking about federal forces that can now go in and do whatever the government needs them to do.
Yeah, where the president used those National Guards to enforce
yes, but under the auspices of
that was national. That was national.
But under the auspices of the governor.
Well, okay, yeah, okay. That didn't work in Alabama because the governor was totally against it. He would use those forces.
Right, but you've got to remember. I think at that time. I'm trying to remember that specific case. I think the governor was forced into a position where he had to allow the National Guard in to maintain order.
Sorry to interrupt. Mitch, tell me one more time. I know I saved it somewhere, but you should see both of my laptops have like 50 tabs open. The guys in Chicago, what is it again? Clear what?
Hard Lens Media.
Hard Lens. Why am I
sorry? Yes, I love those guys.
Yeah, they are pretty
good. Okay.
Yeah, Hard Lens Media is
I think I subscribed.
I've seen
I've subscribed, but then again, I've got like 50 subscriptions.
They do it once a week.
They're a really young crew, but they are some of the sharpest guys I've seen.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job
talking about politics.
I just want to see something new and different. I mean, like I was saying before, I just pull up Twitter, and I'm not going to name names, but because they're people that I like, but it's just like, oh no, the debates, they're using the poll that doesn't include Tulsi again. Come on, let's get on a different subject. We know, okay, here's the story. It, as you said, Aeolus, it's a shit show. It's rigged. So why are we giving it all? Is every independent media person out there, really good independent journalists, wasting all of their energy on this? I guess it's because that's what the audience wants right now. I don't know, but there's so many other stories to cover. There's so much else to talk about other than just, wasting our energies on what the DNC is controlling. I mean, that's what they want. They want us to just spend all of our energy talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think it's also kind of important because...
Yeah, I know.
Because, this is the catch-22 that we have to play whenever election seasons come around.
I know, but they don't all have to do it in tandem. I mean, cover some other things, too, That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's really the tricky thing, is that, it's sort of like a catch-22. How much do you really want to cover this? To be honest, I think it's important to cover the primaries because I think we've learned from the last time, if we don't keep people informed about what the DNC is doing, that makes it all the easier for them to rob us blind again. Which I think maybe the primary reason that a lot of independent media is giving as much attention to the primaries as they are maybe it's an act of, we can all think of it as an act of utility on our parts, and I know quite a few of you probably do yourselves, but I certainly see can respect and understand the idea that this is sort of like the one thing that they know they can do in order to completely, if not completely, then at least limit the likelihood of calamity falling upon us. With something like, say, a Warren or a Biden, or God forbid, a Buttigieg fucking candidacy.
I don't know. Honestly, I know it's important to cover. I just feel like there's so much else going on, and that we could actually make progress in so many areas if we would just stop playing their game, stop buying into it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of the catch-22.
Yeah, I hear you.
If you don't end up covering it, then that just makes it all the easier for the DNC to pull the plug out from right under everybody's feet.
That's
on the other hand,
very true.
If all you focus on is the primary, then there's so many other issues that are getting covered that
Mm-hmm.
That we aren't able to effectively build organization, continue building organization around those topics.
Oh,
so it's just sort of like, what do you do?
Right.
What do you do in those scenarios?
So Mitch, I had actually liked them on Facebook, and I see just on the 26th they interviewed Progressive Adam Broad, congressional candidate fighting for Medicare for all. Okay, be cool. Some more candidates to sign anti-corruption contracts. That's cool. See, this is what does give me hope, is that these candidates keep cropping up everywhere, and they're all speaking the same language. I mean, across the country. That's what gave me hope in doing this work. What discourages me is just, we got to get a new game plan. I mean, I don't know. We're just playing. We're just gonna have a repeat. I hate to see all these candidates get at the max 5%, and maybe that is artificially, like in some cases that you guys know I've talked about a lot. That maybe that is a computer rigged, election result. But what are we gonna do to change it? Are we just gonna sit here in this like endless cycle of talking about it in our little echo chambers? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what.
Well, it's education.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, people don't know. 66% of the people don't vote. They don't know that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are owned by owned by Wall Street and owned by the moneyed interest in this country. And people don't realize that unless you actually participate. Freedom is participation in power, which is something which Roman senator said 2,000 years ago, and it's something that Ralph Nader used in his when he ran for president. And it's the same damn thing. It has been since 1992 when Ross Perot ran. It has to do, no matter whether you're left or right, wherever you are. If the people don't vote, we can't elect the candidate. That's ours.
Right. I know, and it's frustrating when you talk to a really great candidate who, there were like 40-something% of people in that state that didn't vote. And when you try to talk to someone and say, don't be partisan, like go out and talk to those people that,
Right.
I think there's still too much fear among progressive populist candidates to reach out to someone who might consider themselves, I don't know what to even call it. It's not even really right-leaning. Maybe they're a little bit more socially conservative, but they're independent. They don't like either parties. And by these candidates sort of pigeonholing themselves because they are so scared of seeming like they might be right at all, they're cutting off, I think, a lot of people that might vote for them. If they would just stick to the issues and not, I'm not going to name names, I just see sometimes partisan, social media posts and things like that I think could be turning off potential voters.
Yeah.
That if they just steered clear of that and talked about the issues, they might gain more,
Well, Andrew Yang is being very strong about the idea about he appeals to people on the left and right and people who are interested in giving people an economic break in the country. And he talks about those things. He talks about. He says he would probably get about 10% of the Trump voters if he's the nominee, and I think that's probably true. Because he's talking about some very basic things about automation. I don't agree about this, but artificial intelligence, that those things are what is, and not having jobs in this country because of the way the economy has developed, especially overseas and all that kind of thing. It's what is making people poor. It's what's making people turn to drugs. And to crime, and that's one of the things that's going south in this country is the fact that we don't have jobs that pay money to people enough to live on.
And that's
very stressed people in this country.
Yes.
And not to mention that that this is also sort of I think that's one of the most impressive things. I feel one of the most impressive things about the 2019 primary has been the sort of the Democratic Party revealing its true colors, and that for all its proclamations of wanting to play center in order to appeal to everyone, the actual people who have genuine crossover support, people like Bernie, people like Tulsi, people like Yang, are being completely snubbed by the Democratic establishment.
Yep.
Because they appeal to the very people that they claim that they want to appeal to.
Right.
No, but think about, why do they really not want that? Why is it that they don't really want that crossover to happen?
I think it's clear and clearly obvious. It's class. It's because of it's classism. Plain and simple, it's classism. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what the Democratic Party establishment requires it isn't for blue collar. It isn't even really so much for low-level white collar. It is for the professional managerial class.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. I mean, that Thomas Frank talks about that.
They still want to get money from special interests.
But
they don't want to lose that. That's how they compete with the Republicans. The Democrats compete with the Republicans by getting money from the same people, which is Wall Street, which is corporate America.
So both of those are absolutely yes. But what's the real reason that the Democratic Party establishment does not want those two groups to combine together?
I think it comes back to what Chomsky was talking about. What I was reading is that it comes down to the power structure itself is dependent on having this dichotomy, okay, Republican and Democrat, which is simply two sides of the same coin. You look at the candidates and they all have, I mean, for the most part, they all have the same donors.
That's right.
So what's really going on here is it simply a matter of the power structure doing whatever is necessary to hang on to its power.
Yeah, and if those two groups, if the populist groups on left and right, if they joined forces together,
yes,
it's over because
we outnumber. That would be game changing.
Yeah,
that would be absolutely game changing.
Which left and right populists have a lot of the same issues.
Yes, but they're
divided.
Has a lot of the
same issues that the left populists have.
Yep.
The progressives and the Tea Party people have a lot of the same issues.
Yes, it's why we can watch Ron Paul's show, Liberty Report, and some of it we're like, yeah, I mean, we're on the same page.
I mean, we've already won if we can only get our shit together.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we've got to do is we've got to stop this name calling and this backbiting, and we've got to get over this Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Use his terms.
But I think
let's look at things. Let's look at things logically here. Yes. Okay. Some of the things the guy has done are not exactly the greatest. There's definitely some corruption involved there. But what about the fact that he just put together a bill calling for a federal task force to investigate missing women and Native American girls?
Oh, he did?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Yep. And an animal cruelty thing.
Yeah, I think he just put together a bill.
Well, that's because Alana had him do that, and he wants to get a little tonight, you know.
Well, maybe so. You know.
I'm just saying
that
we've got to get over the Trump derangement syndrome. Okay.
And look at what they all do.
There are problems on both sides, and we've got to remember is that the Republican-Democrat dichotomy, that's the real problem. And we've got to realize that it's the power structure that is dividing us in order to maintain its power. And we've got to get past that.
it's as simple as this. I explained this to my teenager recently, and she gets her arms up at first, like, what are you saying, But I said it was early 2016 when it just hit me like a ton of bricks that all the stuff I had been saying for years, that Republican voters, that they were being fooled into voting against their own economic interests based on homophobia, sexism, all those identity politics things that, those issues that appeal to those on the right, right? Yes, all of that. And to me, it was just clear as a bell. But it didn't, here I am, it didn't hit me until early 2016. And what did it was I was watching all this stuff on social media about the election fraud going on in the primary and thinking, why is this not on the news? I kept expecting it to be on the news. And that really hit me like, okay, what I'm watching is not news.
Right.
And then I started seeing, okay, how they're, giving Bernie the media blackout, and they were basically acting as PR for Hillary Clinton. And all of a sudden, when all this stuff came out about her, like how she was against gay marriage when Chris Matthews asked her about it. And what was that, 2008?
Yep.
And all of a sudden now she's for it. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. The I don't know what to call them, the fake left, the progressive Democrats are using all of those identity politics things, the rainbow flag, I'm sorry, but all of those issues, the LGBTQ rights, Me Too movement, they are using it in the same exact way that the Republican Party used it on the other side and had people, because what they've succeeded in doing is just branding, and this is just, I think, obvious to everyone now at this point, right? I'm not saying anything magical here. It's simply branding. It's sports teams. Yep. Republican means you're homophobic and you're evangelical, whatever. Of course, I'm oversimplifying here, but you get what I'm saying. Democrat means you're for transgender rights and blah, 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 blah. So that people can go, okay, that's my team. And really, the truth is that there's not a whole lot of difference on most other issues, other than those things, between the two parties. And we all keep voting in those camps and doing what? Voting against our own interests.
Right. Well, divide and conquer. Divide and conquer on both sides.
Right.
Right. Actually, it's funny you guys mentioned that because one of the things that I often go back to whenever I try and discuss this is honestly has been watching. I sometimes make a lot of allusions to Disney Star Wars, but I think it's a sort of an interesting little case study about how the media has sort of effectively cornered and divided can be used to divide a populace. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know how many of you have any sort of personal attachment to Star Wars. I can only speak for myself. I grew up with Star Wars. My father went with it throughout his college years. He always talked to me about what it was like when he first went into it in the theater, and he was pretty aggressive in getting me into the fandom as well from a very early age. So I grew up with the original trilogy. I watched the prequels in the theaters with my father each time it came out. And those were some of the best memories I remember from my childhood. I used to own like the little plastic lightsabers. I didn't have much of the toys aside from the Lego sets because my family generally couldn't afford it because we were still trying to pay off the house that we had bought when I was just born. But those were the memories I had, and so I have a lot of sentimental attachment to the franchise. And so when Disney bought it up, this was at a point in my life when I kind of realized that the prequels didn't exactly do everything right. from a storytelling perspective. So you go in, so you hear Disney's going to be picking up, and hey, they're going to start a new series, a new trilogy, right off the bat. And I was like, okay, I'm interested. What are you going to do with the story? Well, first thing they said is that they completely decanonized the expanded universe, which is sort of like all the Apocrypha, which is about 30 years of Apocrypha, novels, video games, and other related stories told within the Star Wars universe. And I was like, oh, okay, that seems like a really bad choice, but when you could have just, exited. But apparently they wanted to set it right after the original trilogy. So they wanted to bring in sort of like Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford. Okay, I'm not completely on board with this, but you haven't yet to fuck up a story. So I'll let you go. Force Awakens happens. It was okay. It was certainly not as bad as I thought it was going to be as a viewing experience. But it wasn't. But it didn't blow my mind. I just kind of was like, this just feels like I could have watched any of the original Star Wars movies and not have had to pay $10 to see it. But okay, that's just one movie. And then The Last Jedi happened, and boy, was that was a shit show. Now, I wish I could say that was the end of it, but what I find more interesting about what happened with The Last Jedi, more than the movie itself, has been the response to it, and more importantly, the response to the response. Because if you paid attention to sort of the backlash that happened after Episode 8 dropped, there were slews of articles that were being written about people who were mad about the film. Labeling them as sexist, as racist, as bullies and homophobes, and all these kinds of pejoratives. There were stories about one of the actresses on the film getting bullied off of social media, and he needed within like the next 6 months of that film's release, and you'd had people going out street, calling fans Nazi supporters, Trump supporters, and Russian bots.
Oh,
and now we're at the point where Episode 9's about to drop, and supposedly the whole saga is coming to an end, and nobody can give a fuck about the entire film anymore.
Yeah.
And
I can say that I don't really care about Star Wars, and I was working at Kenner, and I was making the figurines and all that kind of stuff, and my son was very much into it, and he's 48 years old now, or whatever, They're 47. But I don't see the relevance of that to people actually going out and voting, people registering to vote and actually voting.
Because here's the thing, Star Wars, this is what I probably should have framed it as. Star Wars has always been sort of a universe, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you were on. There was never you were either only liberals can enjoy Star Wars, or it's a conservative friendly thing. It was in everybody. It was sort of an everybody thing. There were things that people from all sides of the political spectrum could really hook into and enjoy about Star Wars, and even some of its political commentary, especially during the prequels era.
But now it's
but the gearing, and this became really apparent when The Last Jedi dropped, was the shoehorning of Hollywood's brand of identity politics, which is sort of very insular, because you have to think about this from this perspective. The only place that what are the kinds of people who exist in Hollywood? These are kinds of people who don't have to worry about money, for the most part, or certainly not the people who have the creative decisions over these franchises to have. They don't have to worry about money. They don't have to worry about going bankrupt if somebody in their family gets cancer.
Right.
They don't have to worry about what happens if their car gets wrecked.
Yep.
Wrecked in an accident. Provided that they themselves don't get injured, they can just buy a new car, or they don't have to worry about their house.
Right.
About their paying for their house, even in a place as exorbitantly expensive as LA, because their salaries provide more than enough to be able to pay off the house within months. And so the only place that they aren't insulated in terms of their day-to-day lives is privilege. Is through identity politics.
Mm-hmm.
It's through whether or not you're gay or straight, whether you're black or white, or whether you're a man or a woman. These are the only things that they understand.
Right.
And the part of the problem is that they mistranscribe this idea that their reality is the reality of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get scenes like in The Last Jedi, like Canto Bight, where it's Disney apparently decided to spend 30 minutes parading against capitalism in the military-industrial complex, while seemingly neglecting the fact that it's a billion. Yeah. Well, supposedly,
right.
Yeah. But then they immediately transition into this sort of liberal centrism. We've got to all hurt together around the big strong women, because otherwise you'll get killed.
Right.
I would say you would have to watch episode 8 to understand the full context of what I'm saying, but I wouldn't wish anybody to watch that god-awful film, even upon my worst enemies.
Well, I get what you're saying, and Rich, sorry to interrupt, but just real quick. So you guys remember my friend Krish? He's a comedian, and he's pretty, I don't want to call him liberal, but he's kind of more where you are, Alice. But he was telling me that he can no longer make certain jokes at college campuses. It's like you hear it called the outrage culture, but it's like somebody's offended at absolutely everything. And can you just imagine? It's times like now, but I really wish we had George Carlin back.
Yes.
Because I still will go to many clips of his, and I forget what it was I was watching the other night, what he was referring to, but I thought to myself, oh my God, the hell he would catch now for saying this. Yeah. And he was always controversial, but I think his audience now, saying some of the things he said, it would the liberal outrage side would just lose their minds over some of what he said. And it makes me, I'm sorry, as a woman, sometimes I don't mind. Bring on some Dennis Leary or stuff that people say, oh God, that's sexist. Have a sense of humor sometimes. Really, it's gone too far. It's gone too far.
Part of it is also, I think part of this also sort of coincides with the I don't know how to exactly describe this. I guess the multiculturalification of the elite class is probably one of the biggest things that has sort of led to this sort of the prominence of this outrage culture.
Yeah,
because now we're at it. Because remember, back in those days, when George Carlin was in power, most of the people who were in power were mostly rich, straight, white guys.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Right. So it's kind of understood that they had the power. It's easy to paint it because they've had 300 plus years of dominance to be able to do whatever the fuck they want. Mm-hmm. But now you have a lot of black people in those places. You have Asian people. You have Hispanics, gay people, women. It's the old straight white guy analysis of the world is it's no longer a functional. Well, it's still somewhat functional because it's still the base of the power structure. But
if
now a much more significant amount of those people who don't fit that description label anymore. And so so in a way, what's ended up happening is that the power structure itself has sort of insulated itself from that criticism, from the criticism of being just solely a straight white guys club. Even if functionally it's still a straight white guys club, they've populated enough of those other groups inside of it that an attack on any member of them can be quickly labeled as misogynistic or racist or homophobic, and the criticism can be quickly dismissed. Because part of George Carlin may have said
one thing in general. You have
but it was also from the perspective of these are people who are at the absolute pinnacle of privilege in our society. Could you imagine George Carlin being able to get away with calling Barack Obama and Uncle Tom?
I think he would. You're right.
I could definitely say that George Carlin would be the kind of person who wouldn't give a fuck enough to hold himself back from saying something like that. But if George Carlin said that now, can you imagine the
I hear you.
People calling out Hillary Clinton who releases outrage? Could you imagine what?
George that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But hang on, wait. Rich wanted to jump in. Sorry, Rich.
Well, just very. I like to generalize too damn much, probably, but people in entertainment and people in sports, these are the people who get the attention in our culture, and they're all part of the 1%. They're all millionaires and billionaires, and they make $80 for motion, $80 million for motion pictures. Some of these stars and all those kind of things. They have nothing to do with me or us, the 99%.
But they're running our dialogue. They're dictating.
But I mean, the stuff they put in the movies, the stuff they take up all this time on TV with sports and football and basketball and all this. And I'm a big tennis fan. I love tennis. I watch a lot of it. It's just my sport.
My mom would enjoy talking with you, Ben.
All those are, and those people are up in the millionaire class now. I think they had a $5 million prize for one tournament like this fall, for the women, and that's for a week's work. Hey, what the hell's that got to do with me or you or anybody else?
Yet they're controlling our dialogue. They're controlling how we talk. I mean, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
That's not us. It's not where most of our people are.
Yeah, but Hollywood does.
We aren't there, It's
our
the people in entertainment and sports are not where we are.
Right.
That's
so they're sort of somewhat irrelevant to our lives.
Right. Yeah, they are.
No matter what the storyline is,
Right. Which kind of puts me I always feel like in a very awkward position of trying to explain leftist perspective of media to other conservatives, because from my perspective, it's impossible for me to ignore the fact that women, minorities, gay people have had a significantly difficult time getting proper roles in film and other media outlets. And so as a personal understanding that, I want to be able to support their efforts to get more exposure in media as to the best of my ability, because to me it is a matter of fairness. But on the other hand, what I dislike, especially when it comes to how liberals seem to handle it, is that they treat it as a tokenism. Just being able to put a black guy out there is good enough, and notwithstanding the fact that black. I mean, you've had John Boyega for now 3 movies being stuck as a comic relief janitor character in a fucking Star Wars movie when all the trailers were trying to pick him up as going to be the next lead guy, and you have stuff like that happening, and then when people call it out, they accuse you of being racist. Like, God, why are you so mad about our black stormtrooper for being a complete and utter joke? Are you just being racist? It's sort of like, no, you gave him nothing to do. and people don't understand it from that perspective. Like liberals just think that if you just give them a role, any role, that's going to be good enough. No, what matters is having meaningful roles. It's not good enough that you can put them in front of a screen and call it good. And, let them say a few nice things before walking off the camera. They need to have meaningful roles that allow them to contribute, to have agency within the narrative. And those are the roles that are severely lacking.
Yep.
And the fact of the matter is that when you do this half-assed, as a lot of these Hollywood elites do, what ends up happening is that you piss everybody off. I get pissed. I get pissed off because I want to be able, as an Asian American, I want to see myself represented in meaningful and Asian-filled roles, roles that match the level of agency that I wish to actualize in the world. Well, conservative people get pissed off because they just think that this is a role that any other white guy could have filled. So why not put one there?
Let's get back to your point about. Let's get back to your point about Obama, because you're right. If George Carlin had said something like that, called him an Uncle Tom, probably would have been a problem. However, what did Cornel West say about Obama?
Yeah.
He called him the Wall Street mascot in blackface.
But he can do that. That's the difference. I mean, he can do that.
Right, he can say that as a black guy, but...
But my point is, why is it different? That's my point.
Because racism.
Because of the history of racism in the country. That's the key difference. When a white guy is not in the mind of a lot of black people, you can agree or disagree with this if you want, but in the mind of a lot of black people, they don't want the value of other black people being determined by white people after 250 years of slavery and an additional 100 years of institutionalized segregation, intentionally designed to hold them in the same power structure that slavery had held them in.
Amen.
Right. Okay. But in this case, we're talking about like
the opinion of a white guy trying to evaluate the position of a black guy.
So a friend of mine, guy happens to be black, very vocal activist, referred to Obama. When he was saying like, what were his quotes recently? Like, I don't know, you just have to basically play nice with the establishment and don't go too far left. I'm paraphrasing. But he referred to Obama as something mulatto. It was pretty derogatory. But he's black, and it's like, okay, then you can, I think it's even more important for those black voices than to say that. Just like for me, I take issue with some of this stuff in the Me Too movement. I think it's absolutely just screwed up that a man can be, he's guilty with no evidence or anything because a woman just says something happened. Well, okay, if a man says that, what kind of blowback are they going to get? But so I consider it like even more important that I speak out about that and call it bullshit when I see bullshit, which is no one should be just, okay, let me back up. Yes, women should be listened to about that. For a long time they weren't, and things were shoved under the rug. But just because I personally know someone, it's a somewhat public case, that I know for a fact that he's not guilty, and it was a framed situation. And the fact that people just automatically assume that he's guilty, and it's happened over and over again, especially with like whistleblowers. Look at Assange and Applebaum and a bunch of them. But I have that power as a woman to say I can say more than a man can say about that. And so it's the same situation. So I think we almost have more of a duty to call out that bullshit when we see it.
Yeah. And this is kind of what has made me soften my opinion towards certain commentators. who happen to share political disagreements with me, especially those from the kinds of communities that I wish to be able to be a positive advocate for. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I can't, as an Asian American, I can only really speak from my own perspective. As an Asian American man, I can only really speak from that perspective. For me to speak on behalf, as if my opinion should matter to, say, a black guy or Native American, is kind of is both one incredibly presumptuous and two, I honestly think extremely arrogant. But with that said, and as such, when I'm faced with contrary opinions from the kinds of communities that I believe I'm attempting to support, you need to have the ability to listen to those voices. True. Because even if you don't agree with them all the way, you should still nonetheless be willing to exercise the kind of respect and restraint to be able to hear them out. Sure, you're going to occasionally find your Blair Whites or Tommy Lorenz who. Oh
my goodness, it's Garden Gnome. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, Garden Gnome
It's been like a year or something.
Garden Gnome.
Sorry, let's go ahead.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello there.
Can you hear me?
What's up?
Hey, Garden.
What's up, Kelly?
Hey, it's been like a year or something, hasn't it?
I know, I'm busy all the time.
How's northern Michigan?
It's like rainy and wet. We had a lake flooding situation the other day.
Oh.
That doesn't sound good.
Well, the shoreline floods. So,
gotcha.
like, I had a day off. I went for a hike, and I just happened to pick the day that it was flooding. So that was fun.
That would be a seiche.
Is that the term for it?
Where there's an atmospheric high hitting Minnesota, when Michigan has a low. The water goes down in Minnesota, it goes up in Michigan.
I'm not sure what it was caused by.
So what have you been up to?
Like, there's been some rain and what have you, and there's been some flooding from the river, so I don't know if that contributed to it. Just working and, doing my thing. Been helping, like a buddy of mine has like a few music projects going, and I've been kind of working on that with him. So,
well, have you been keeping up with, I don't know, politics? What are you following?
Oh, yeah.
Anything?
I've been keeping up with all of this idiocy.
Yeah. You always did keep up with everything, didn't you?
I can't help.
Yeah.
My mind just runs 24/7. It's like a damn engine.
Well, we were earlier, I don't know if you were when you tuned in, but kind of discussing how there's so much more, there's so many more viewers on the right in independent media than on the left.
On the what? I'm sorry?
Well, I guess on the right, whatever you want. Independent media, right-leaning more so than...
Is shifting to the right?
Yeah. Or just the number of viewers, basically.
Well, it's hardly surprising. I mean, left media isn't, it speaks the language of populism. But the people running it, tend, to be populists and in name only. I mean, they don't experience the problems of the proletariat.
Right. Yeah.
So they get these disconnected ideas, and it drives middle and lower class people to the right. We've seen this over and over now.
Yeah. It's the same. It's listen liberal. It just keeps happening.
The problem is that you have an overeducate. That a lot of the people who claim to be populists are often in these are from these sort of overeducated liberal positions. That they think that they're being populist, but their language, their manner of thinking, their the way they're taught to approach the world is from the perspective of an elite. they're trained to do this, and that's not to say that I think it should be wholly dismissed. There's certain benefits that I found from my own education that I found to be extremely helpful in my understanding, developing my understanding of populism, at least from my own personal understanding of it. But most of the people don't really bother to exercise that when engaging with actual members of the proletariat. And what ends up as a result is sort of this sort of anger, frustration that sort of builds up, which is where you get these kinds of perspectives like Sam Cedars, which sort of views the rest of the population as too stupid to be able to figure out what's for their own good.
That Brooks just gets worse and worse.
Well,
he's like some undergrad who's like read a book or two and is like, no, now I'm qualified to speak on this subject.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you aren't, dude. You aren't.
I don't
and like
understand.
half of your guests are on there have a clear political, motivations that go beyond ideas or ideology. They're pushing points for.
Yeah, I don't understand who their audience is. Who is falling for this crap? I don't know.
Basically, it's other overeducated liberals who think that they are smarter than they actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
That sounds right.
Because much like people like Thunderfoot or Sargon of Akkad, to a lesser extent, they think just because they managed to get a master's, a bachelor's or a master's degree, or even a PhD in whatever their subject chosen field of study is that they now become masters of the universe and are therefore qualified to speak on any matter or subject into existence, even if it's a subject that they have no manner of expertise.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing for a group of us to get on here and talk about things like whatever. I make no pretense of trying to educate the public. And Kelly, what you're doing is educating the public, but you're not doing it from a point of authority. You're bringing people on who do have, some experience in these matters and what have you.
Right.
So, conversations are one thing. What Brooks and some of these other people are doing is quite another. They're trying to actively shape the ideology of their audience, and it's
right. Yeah, I'm just looking at Michael Brooks' Twitter
Michael
page.
Brooks is a self-admitted propagandist, so I don't know why anyone would be bothered to try and explain him.
So, okay, Michael Brooks, and I was already following him, though I don't really read it. I mean, I know who he is, so his Twitter profile here: co-host Woke Brothers, member of the Cuban left. What? Yeah, it's just, to me, it's just all part of the whole. I call it faux-aggressive.
Yeah,
but it's all part of that faux-aggressive movement that it just seems designed to just pull everyone back under the Democratic Party tent.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, but, these are the same kinds of crowds that describe people who support Tulsi Gabbard as incels. And might I add for the record...
What? Is that really a thing now?
Yeah.
A toll cell is what they call them.
Oh, my God.
You know what I keep telling people? If you have to rely on outdated sexist language that not even right-wingers use anymore, or you have surrendered any degree of credibility that you might have been asking for to begin with. And that is especially the case for people who have to describe other people who support other candidates as incels.
Wow. How did that start?
Like, for example,
I don't even want to know. Never mind. I don't want to know how that started. Oh, my God.
It just amazes me. It's sort of like, do you guys think that like Davis O'Reilly and Rouge V are still relevant or something?
Now, I will say regarding Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm not going to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I do think there are some progressive men that are a bit blinded to. I mean, there's definitely an aspect of her being a young, attractive female,
Yes.
Honestly, I
that
can
is
see,
kind of blinding, some judgment there. I see that a lot.
maybe,
but
but I would say this.
Not maybe.
No, because let me just say.
Shirley, oh my goodness.
Shirley.
Hi, Shirley.
I'll say this for myself.
It's been like 2 years.
As a 25-year-old man, I don't have any particular interest in lusting over a married 38-year-old woman who's 10 years older than me.
Yeah, I know.
I've met Tulsi. I've met Tulsi, got to talk with her for a little bit. I didn't find her phony at all. As soon as you get talking to her, she was really treated poorly by the Democratic Party in the county I was visiting her with.
Boy, that's surprising.
I walked up and thanked her for her frankness of talking about Hillary being a warmonger.
Mm-hmm.
She'd had a really bad day up until then, and she just had a huge.
Get on here.
Oh,
You're on, Shirley.
Hey, Shirley.
Get on here.
You're on.
You're on.
Yep, you just muted yourself. You were unmuted a second ago.
Mm-hmm.
So you found her to be very genuine. That's
very genuine.
Yeah.
We got to talk for a little bit, and then there was a medical emergency, and she had to go.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. She had caught some kind of cold or something.
No. There was a woman who had cancer, couldn't breathe. Tulsi helped her. Yeah.
Well,
and that didn't make the news.
My
no,
only
of
thing
course
with,
not, because that would paint a candidate in a positive light.
I want to believe
Bernie
Tulsi.
Sanders could save somebody from getting ran over, and
Yeah.
the mainstream media will find a way to twist it into Bernie Sanders had stopped somebody from committing suicide with thoughtless bastard.
I want to believe Tulsi, but after seeing Bernie Sanders delegates crying in the bathroom in Philly,
Yeah.
I want to see what she does when this is all over. Does she turn around and tell everyone they need to vote for the establishment Democrat, or does she?
She has to. She's contractually.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you may have seen Garden. We went.
I think what's going to happen.
We did some
is
live stream.
She will sit this one out and run in the next election, independent.
Actually, from what it sounds like, this may be her last outing as a politician. This is basically her Hail Mary, because she's officially announced that she's once this election.
She's not running for Congress again.
Hang on a
She's
second.
leaving Congress.
Hey, Shirley.
So this is basically an all-in.
Shirley, can you hear me? Nod.
So, but interestingly,
You're
she
muted.
has
Here, let me unmute.
She has hinted that one possibility that she may take after leaving politics is to start her own independent media program. So we may be looking
That'll be
at
interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe what we may be looking at instead of looking at Tulsi Gabbard, the politician, we may be seeing
there, you're not muted.
Into Tulsi Gabbard, either an independent journalist or what may be is just sort of into this sort of public spokesman, this sort of personality. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say this again. I don't necessarily look at Tulsi as necessarily as a leftist. I don't see her as a conservative by any means. And really to describe her as a centrist in the way we describe centrist isn't really an accurate description either.
No.
Tulsi Gabbard is this, I describe her as sort of like this weird political chimera that really the country hasn't really seen since John F. Kennedy was in office. A man who has no discernible political ideology or guiding preferences. It's just seemingly spitballing this from the basis of her own experiences and intuition.
Right.
And I think that's what I find to be the most amazing quality about Tulsi Gabbard is that this is a combination that for most politicians is usually the kiss of death in terms of their integrity.
Right.
But for some fucking reason, and I will never understand how she manages to pull it off. She seems to manage to keep it. It's
because that's what the public really wants. So we were talking about those sides coming together.
I think it's all planned. I see a repeat of 2016.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I've been saying,
And
Shirley.
the poll numbers are rigged. Bernie is the only person in that election that can beat Trump.
Right.
Yep.
He's the only one. Only one. They're still ignoring him. They're ignoring other people too. They're not just ignoring him. But even, did y'all hear Obama came out and say something about Bernie?
Yeah, I did. I thought that was fucking amazing. Like, you stumped for this guy.
Yeah. He didn't call up on the fucking rock and go back
for this guy. And now
because Trump's going to win again. They're not running on issues, what they're going to do for the American people. I just see a repeat of 2016. I think Bernie is not going to get this nomination again. They're going to take it from him.
Yep.
That's what I do think that that's actually an extremely likely possibility. And I think that a lot of leftist YouTubers are doing a disservice to their audience and not explaining that this could happen.
Yes.
Happen to their audience.
That's how I feel about Gabbard.
This is not the same thing as me saying that it will happen again, because surprises have happened within my own lifetime, and a miracle can happen again. But completely ignoring it is just pretending like everything's going to be fine if we just pull ourselves together hard enough and make a wish upon a star. That's not how politics works.
But Bernie signs a contract agreeing with the stuff they're doing.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, he signed both. We went over this in a live stream about the DNC rules. But he and Gabbard, if you run as a presidential candidate, you have to sign this contract. But in addition to that, Bernie signed the indivisible contract, which in more specific terms says basically you'll play nice and you won't really be a real competition.
I just see 2016 all over again. He already said before Biden and Warren mentioned they were running, he said if they get the nomination, I will.
Well, it's starting to shape up like they've promised Sanders something.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if now that Joe is has disqualified himself or illness has disqualified him.
He'll get a decent seat in the Senate.
I think that it's shaping up to be Warren and possibly Bernie as VP.
Yeah.
Now, like a Bernie VP is, in my opinion, is a disaster for reformers.
Yes.
Because it will neuter him politically and legislatively.
Completely.
Mm-hmm.
I have the schedule for Iowa for the next 2 weeks of every candidate that's going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Let me share that, because I think we can get some insight from that.
Right.
Just like others have pointed out, Sanders apparently just refuses to go after Warren.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason.
Yeah. Harris still running?
Well, she's scheduled for these events, but if you notice, other than this free beer giveaway, she's only appearing at private houses for like 10 people. And then Biden.
Snort. Who's doing that?
Sorry.
Kamala Harris?
Oh, her. But she needs to just go away. She's destroying her campaign.
Honestly, I'm still surprised that Tom Delaney is still in this.
Who?
We're not seeing him anymore. He's quit participating. He's quit participating.
You know what? I'm still fucking shocked that he, of all people, went out and defended Tulsi Gabbard. Like, I just when Hillary Clinton called her Gabbard a Russian bot. Like that fucking astonished me. Like Delaney has no obligation. He's all the people Ahmed in the Democratic lineup.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising.
Last person,
Like I said,
who has
some
any
of them are not.
I think he genuinely believes his bullshit. At this point, I don't think he's that cynical, a cynical bastard. I think he genuinely believes that centrism, this sort of neoliberal centrism, is the only way.
Let's also bear in mind that, in the past decade or so, running for office is a for-profit venture.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Biden has been in this state, Iowa, about 4 times in the last year.
Are you
if
fucking
you notice
kidding?
how many times he is signed up for next week, it's just all over the place.
That's
a lot of them is everywhere. He's just like all of a sudden realized that he actually has to go somewhere. And,
Well,
He
that might have been his Alzheimer's.
got a stripper pregnant and lives in Arkansas, but she dances in Washington, and all she wanted to do was take a DNA. He refuses. And that Joe Biden talking about he didn't want illegal. He don't like the idea of legalized marijuana. Well, why don't you get up with your son? Because he has an opioid addiction, and he got didn't something happen to him?
Wait, no fucking way.
And he got arrested.
What the fuck are you doing here?
Who? That was Ebon
Hunter
on?
Biden. Hunter Biden, I'm talking about.
They're running Joe Biden into the ground.
They
It's
throwing his ass under the bus. They throwing him under the bus. And Hillary better not jump in. All the candidates, and even polls said Bernie would still beat him like in 2016. He's the only one. He has a message. And we got Trump because of Obama. He's a symptom of the problem of the system.
Yes.
Period.
It's a reunion.
Yes.
That's
They
really
all
wrong.
related because I heard Obama's mom's a long lost cousin of Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
and Chad Wilson is running for president.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Green
I
Party.
saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
You know, he had no chance. He had none of them had a chance. Only Bernie can win. And if he don't win, this
if the
country is done.
DNC doesn't get their act together, he's getting my vote.
Who?
Chad?
Chad.
Oh,
Why
yeah,
not?
Chad lose. I'm not voting. I am not voting.
I'm voting for Chad.
Only person
Yeah, I
I'm
vote
voting
for Chad.
The Green
For
Party
who?
bothered to get themselves on the ballot in Oklahoma.
Chad used to be
I
in
would
the.
like to have them as a voting
Chad is
option.
kind of like a hothead. He gotta get
He does tend to be.
He might be a hothead. Abon had a show for several years, and Chad frequently participated.
Yes, it is.
And like I heard,
So
the Green Party is trying to get in with the Democrats. Because I'm dead down with
Oh
Beyonce.
yeah, Howie Hawkins.
So
like
Yvonne down here, Rich, in the bottom corner, Yvonne really started all of this with all of us on these squares. This is how it all
Yeah.
started
Is he here?
2 years ago,
He
2.5
figured out the technology. He
Years
teaches
ago.
everybody how to use this.
Hi,
Yeah.
Shirley. Hi, Rich. Hi, everybody.
Very good.
Hi.
It's great to see you again, Yvonne.
I just want to ask all you guys to have my husband in your prayers.
Oh,
He's in the hospital in ICU.
Oh,
oh no.
Jesus.
Breathing tube and a feeding tube. He
Oh,
caught
I'm so
septic.
sorry.
Oh no. What happened?
Yes. I don't know. It was, well, now we're looking back at it since he's in the hospital. He had symptoms. He was forgetting to pay bills. He had his vehicle taken because they said it was abandoned, which it wasn't. It's parked in front of our house. And he was doing a lot of different things. We looking back now. But he's on a feeding tube
Yikes.
and the breathing machine. They may put a trach in his mouth because they want to take the breathing away. Because when people on that, they lungs tighten up the muscles because they haven't talked in like 14
Right.
days. So they gonna do that and give him a trach. But we keep it. He's doing much better. But I took him. What's crazy? Bro, I always told him when your birthday coming up, you're gonna get something before your birthday, on your birthday, or afterwards. I had to take my husband to the hospital on my birthday. I had to have paramedics to come get him.
Jeez.
Hmm.
Yeah, but he's getting better. They pumping him with antibiotics like
Good.
crazy.
Good.
And I thank God we eat what we eat. I don't eat any meat with antibiotics. Drink no milk with that. So we eat well. So, and then he kept taking antibiotics. That's what really triggered it. The infection attacked antibiotics like he was resistant for antibiotics, but he's not because we don't eat that stuff.
Right.
And then went to his intestines and bowels. Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and being in the hospital, sometimes then you just contract more stuff.
No, but he just got a new infection. I'd say that's from the hospital, but I thought be praying for him because he's a fighter. Because I lifted there to go see him, and the driver was a woman. She said, "I'm a widow now. My husband had the same thing you had,
Oh, jeez.
but he died last year." And she was like, all his organs failed. His heart couldn't take the little procedures, not surgery, just for the tube down your esophagus that go to your stomach and find out where you're bleeding at. He couldn't even handle it. And he died. He died like a month later. The same day he came in, he died the same day. And that gave me some comfort because my husband's still alive.
That's good.
Jeez, I'm sorry, Shirley.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And he was leaking here. He's the type, I'm not going to that. And he's going to be scared, but he's never had a hospital stay, ever. He wouldn't go to the doctors because he didn't have insurance at all. We can drugs overseas, so they're fine and they work. But we don't take them like that because we don't get sick.
Right.
I ain't have it going a couple of years now. Him
Yeah,
too.
and how many Americans continue to do this and don't go in? And granted, always going in doesn't mean they're going to catch everything. But when you don't go to the doctor, when you know something's wrong because of cost, it's just so broken.
Yeah.
It's so
He was
broken.
worried about the money.
Right.
I just got the fire department bill now. That's close to $1,000. I told him all you got to do when a son arm broke, he had to take the ambulance. Think about the payment, $20. That's it. It doesn't get paid off, and it won't bother you.
Damn.
But that hospital bill, that's going to be expensive. They did the MRI, CAT scan, and all that stuff. They charge an arm and a leg for that stuff. They charge
the fact
$500
that
for a Band-Aid.
I know the fact that we can be held hostage, the way that medical bills can be included on your credit report, that mean you pay 20% interest for a car loan because.
And I wonder who voted on that too.
Yeah.
I know Biden voted on we couldn't file bankruptcy on he made that up on the student loans.
Student loans.
Oh, Kelly, how you do the one in Germany?
Do what?
Did you ever do it?
Oh, I have. Yes, she's in Scotland.
Okay, how's she doing?
She's doing well, and I'll tell you a medical story. So I think it's been almost 2 years now. She had a sledding accident. Yeah, she's trying to sled on an air mattress, but anyway, I told her she was going to get a Darwin Award for that one. But anyway, she knocked her 2 front teeth almost completely out, and this is like after $6,000, out of pocket for orthodontics and all that. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to cost thousands. And Scotland.
Okay.
So she, as a student over there, you have to buy into the NHS. Even if you have American insurance, you have to. So it was $900 for 3 or 4 years of her being a student. And who left? Bye, Aeolus. So she went through NHS. She went to the dentist, and they did everything for basically about $100. So my younger daughter goes to the orthodontist still, and so I said, hey, this is what happened. What would that have cost? And they were like, oh, that would have been thousands of dollars with insurance to fix her 2 front teeth. And so it was all done for $100.
Don't talk about teeth. I'm glad I got Medicaid. Because I was taking that lupus medicine, and I was never supposed to be taking it because I have discoid lupus of skin, not the systemic version.
Right, I remember we hydroxychloroquine, right?
Yeah. That's
Well,
it messes up your teeth. I had to get work on my teeth medically.
You must take a high. Do you take a high dose of that?
Yeah, it was like 200 milligrams. And my second rheumatologist had me taking it twice a day. It made me lose weight. I got darker. So my family was like, what's going on with you? I think you're sick. I'm not sick. My blood work come back fine. And they was like, well, you're getting darker. And I went to a new rheumatologist. He said, he always come, when I come in there, he give me a paperwork to fill out. And he asks the pain, where the pain at? Because you must be in pain. They only send you to a rheumatologist because you just diagnosed with lupus. But me having the skin condition, I don't need to take the medicine. I took it for 7 years.
When you didn't need them?
Huh?
You took it for 7 years when you didn't need it?
Yep. The doctor, I'm thinking about filing a lawsuit, a malpractice lawsuit, because my skin got darker, and I lightened up since then. But
you mean
also, it affected your teeth. If they eat it, if that medicine eat at your gums.
Jeez.
And I gotta get oral surgery. I'm serious. I just ate a quarter pound of cheese. I just had a taste for it. I know they shouldn't have had it, but I had a taste for it. I've been into an urgent. One of my toothways got to be pulled or by oral surgery. Grew a big check. I'm like, oh, my daughter said, what's wrong? I said, just a bit of onion, and my tooth just broke a big chunk. I had to get that out because I didn't want to swallow that. So I go to the dentist Tuesday. And they're going to have to do something because my teeth are really brittle. And I should be in serious pain, but I've used this toothpaste called Natural Dental. It has none of that crazy stuff in it, that fluoride or anything. And that's why I'm probably not in pain. I should be in pain. I should have an abscess. And I don't. Yep, my teeth are jacked up. I can't even go on job interviews. I love to smile, but that messed my teeth up. Yeah, I'm thinking
well, it is unfortunately too many people's stories, you know?
Yeah, and when they made medical, they should add dental to it. Because if you get an infection in your mouth, you can die from that.
Mm-hmm.
It can reach to your brain cells and then run through all through your body. An infection with your mouth. That's the most expensive insurance that we have out here, besides the medical.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice background there, Mitch.
Yeah, but I'm doing good. I'm not letting nobody down. I'm keeping normal. My daughter was calling me every half hour. Are you all right? I'm okay. You sleep? Yeah, well, I was up with him 9 in the morning on Sunday, all day Monday. And I still got to make up for sleep. But I'm going to sleep soon and get off of here because I got to get sleep.
But how long has your husband been in the hospital?
Huh?
How long has he been in the hospital?
A week. I'll never forget my 54th birthday. That's when I sit from there.
Happy birthday, Shirley.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was the 17th, but he's been in here since then.
I'm
sorry. And he was collecting the doctors left the room because he didn't want me to call him. So he said, come here. He told me, I'm going to kill you when I get out of here. No, I said, no, you're going to thank me. And when I tell him that story about that Lyft driver with her husband, he really going to thank me.
Mm-hmm.
He's hard-headed. He's really hard-headed. It's hard to sleep without someone that's been with you. You've been with for 31 years. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just need his presence there. I know he's there, and that's it. I'm safe and whatever. But he's not. My son here, he'll take care of me, but he's not here. And he don't like me being alone with, if I'm not there, away somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sad. I keeping a positive attitude. He's going to come home.
Yeah.
Because he getting dialysis right now. He hurt himself more by taking antibiotics because that didn't work on that thing. They're making up antibiotics while they treating them at the same time. They got the bloodstream stuff out. So it was affecting his bloodstream. His memory gone. He think it's 2020 right now. But I play R&B music in the room, and he know what song, who the artist is, and what the name of the song is. So he's not too far bad off with the amnesia.
Maybe he's just hoping we can fast forward through all this to 2020. Right.
I'm sorry for the bad news, but that's what happened. So I'm fine. My daughter's like, I'm just making sure. I said, I'm fine. I'm going out and do things, make keep normalcy. I even cooked
Mhm.
dinner. I didn't do the thing where I baked fries and things like that. I just made dinner. It's like a regular dinner. It wasn't even Thanksgiving because he wasn't here.
Mm.
I hope we have our Christmas. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, we can get back to politics because I'm getting stalled.
No,
I'm really getting pissed off, especially if they cut
Well-
man.
well, but
You
it
know-
all ties in because we all suffer this stuff. We don't have decent health care, and it
No.
shouldn't make people not go to the doctor just because they can't afford it.
No.
It becomes, I mean, you can look at it just from a pure cost perspective. It ends up costing more if they have
And
to look
that's
at it
not
that way,
normal.
you know?
And that's what I never thought we would be this way because this is our story now. If you don't have Elvis, you do anything you can. At least he know what he has to take for his blood pressure and stuff. He be overseas. My mother like, I never. Y'all shouldn't be ordering medicines overseas. I said, well, he ain't the only one. It's like
Right.
millions of people in this country that ordered
Yep.
overseas.
Yep.
Yes, they are.
My friend
And they-
Nicole went to Costa Rica for dental work because it was cheaper for her to fly.
It's
Take
probably
it.
cheaper in Cuba. They
Yeah.
got one of the best medical facilities.
I think a lot of people would save a lot of money saving, if diagnostics were so expensive. I mean, a lot of the time, just trying to diagnose the problem is what costs a lot of people money, and the doctors don't even find out what's wrong with you.
No, we need. You remember the show House MD?
Mhm.
Like we need House MD, and I mean, I have my own personal story with that, but a whole year of not knowing what the hell was going on, and many trips to the ER, and yeah, wasted time and money because you can't get diagnosed properly. Yeah, that was about my spinal fluid leak. So, yeah.
And they should have it so you shouldn't even pay if they can't diagnose you. I mean,
Right.
what's the point? It's like
Right.
imagine paying someone just money to figure out what's wrong with their car.
Right.
So they go, okay, it's $2,000, and you go, okay, here's $2,000 to store my car. I don't know.
Really?
I
Right.
can refer you to a specialist, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
right.
you go.
My buddy, it's a scam, man. Like, a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
is.
these tests
Yeah,
are
it
just
is.
And what do you think from back in the day when you were a kid? I was like old enough to understand things that were being said, but I never had to go to a specialist. We used to have neighborhood doctors. They
Right.
could put out 3-story houses. I remember the doctor we had, Dr. Brody. I said, I never got head cold. And never had to keep calling them to go before the difference is, and never saw it go to a specialist.
Mhm.
After HMOs took over and they disbanded, it just totally changed. There was $5 to go to the doctor from the primary, and it was $2 to get your prescription. That's all gone now. That's like how much is double, triple, double,
Well,
When my wife went,
and they don't cover everything.
when my wife went in for brain surgery, it was millions of dollars in the first weeks, and and they misdiagnosed it as kidney failure.
Jeez.
Oh my God, Jesus.
how does that happen?
But my husband got a good team of doctors, though. He really does. Because they put him on a regular floor, and the nurse was on. I met the nurse that was getting ready to get off. She was very nice and good at her job. But the next one came, I'm like, oh my God. I don't think she into her patient. And sure enough, my husband pressure went up, and he had to go back to ICU. The team asked him to get him back and say no, it's case. But he would have coded. He would have coded.
The neurologists don't get called in until the nephrologists say that it's not kidney failure.
So it was some kind of a blood work thing that made them.
The neurologist for the pathologist. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
The symptoms for glioblastoma and kidney failure are the same because they both have high levels of potassium in the blood, and she had near fatal levels of potassium in her blood.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
So they immediately turn it over to the nephrologists. Yeah.
Well, they're human and they make mistakes. You know.
Yeah, but you can't be making mistakes like that. Because when I went downstairs, they make you do the woman doing the procedure to my husband. They're supposed to put in the feeding tube that the one they put in through his nose, it stops working sometimes. So they canceled the procedure, came back, and I sat there and I looked. I'm like, well, the nurse right there across from the room. So I went to her. I said, did he go down today? She said, oh no, I forgot to tell you. How the hell you forget to tell me? She's 20-something years old. How you forget to tell me? So my doctor used to teach Drexel medicine for 30 years. Medical school. He retired. I said, why you retire? He said, these young kids, they don't want to learn nothing and they don't want to listen to you. And I got tired of them and I went back to my full practice again. And she proved my point. Nurse, I forgot to tell you. Why did you forget to tell me? I need to know every little thing that's being done to me. Yeah.
Well, it's not like they all are out to vulture, but there's like too much vulturing going on in our medical system where you have people with fatal illnesses and they're just being put on a couch.
Right.
Well, what I would find when I was sitting in the hospital room was doctors would just line up outside the door to come in, sign their charts, and bill. Doctors that I couldn't even see had any relevance. They just walked in. Is this one of my patients? Signed the paperwork and walked out. And we got bills from just so many doctors in fields that I couldn't see any relationship. And then my wife had 3 biopsies that were done under MRI, which is very expensive. One of those probably funds the hospital for a day. They all 3 came out negative, and they still kept treating her for kidney failure.
Because my husband is getting dialysis. Kidney problems running in his family, but he never had problems before until he got this infection. But they say it's doing good now. It's still critical but stable.
Yeah, we definitely need a new system and taking the profit motive out of it. But
that's what AI is good for.
To get cheap meds in Canada, they didn't vote on it. They said, no, we're not going to get it. This is insane.
I mean, I remember, I think this is almost over a decade ago, but when you go do your physical, they do blood work and they return the blood work. They go, hey, you've got high triglyceride counts. Let's take a look at it. And I go, okay. And then they do more tests and they do more things and they go, well, you could have something wrong with your liver. So I go, okay, let's figure it out. So they go, okay, you got fatty liver because they did more blood work and more testing and more money. And I go, okay, so what now? They go, well, eat right and here, try medicine. So I tried the medicine, then I got like these, you know how when your feet sleeps, that was the side effect, but if it occurs in your hands. So I was like, okay, I can't take the medicine. They go, okay, just eat right and exercise and you'll be good. Fast forward, it's like a decade later, you know, I met a doctor over here in Nebraska and he goes, hey, you've got high triglyceride counts. Do you want to run some tests and make sure you're okay? And I go, no.
Yeah, because this is all made for desire, like all those cancer hospital commercials set up just on TV. You know, they put it in your food and your drinks. So everyone's susceptible to get that now. What's in the food and stuff.
It's like they want people to catch diabetes. Straight up.
Oh, yeah.
They put it like these starches and these sugars and everything.
I had an aunt that had that. She got her legs cut off. They said, oh, we got to do a hand now. She said, Lord, take me out of here. He took her out of here because she said she couldn't take it no more. That was just one person. I never heard of, and I never heard nobody get cancer from cigarettes. When y'all think of the Rat Pack, what did they do when they perform? All their shows, smoke and drink. Sammy Davis was the only one that had cancer and died of it because he ran in his family. But Dean Martin and all of them, they died of natural causes. I'm not saying it because I smoke cigarettes, but they're trying to make that a boogeyman. They don't talk about what's in the food or your drinks, even alcohol. It's in Heineken, Corona, all top beers a lot of people drink.
Well, when we combine like the effects of the new technologies and the decreased regulation. It's almost like we're living in the era of the jungle. Like, like we need to have, if you were to go into some of these places and see what they were doing, you'd be horrified. In some cases, you would require a PhD in chemistry to understand what was going on, but you would be horrified if you knew.
I collaborated with
California having the bill. There's some kids that can't take vaccines because they make them sicker. They passed the bill where you're not exempt from getting the vaccines. Yeah.
I collaborated with a doctor in Italy and a chemist, and the Italian doctor who does stomach diseases, she was absolutely afraid of American milk.
Yeah.
That there was a bacteria in it called Paratuberculosis avians in American milk that they don't have in European milk.
Damn.
She thinks it's related to IBS and Crohn's disease.
Well, if you look at milk, there's a couple of things really. I mean, have you ever seen like what happens in a milk production facility? I mean, it's just pus and blood, and they do their best to clean it up, but whatever, ship it out. And then like we get a lot of I believe we get a lot of our milk from Mexico, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do.
So, I mean,
I found my milk from Stonyfeld because he has no GMOs in it, no antibiotics in the chickens or anything.
I remember, don't you go to the Amish markets too?
Yep, yes, I have that too. I go there. And Aldi's. Do you have an Aldi's? Anyone have an Aldi's where they live at?
No.
I don't.
Yeah.
I know you do. No, I think he's Steve.
Rich. Yeah.
You had one, but they're reasonable, and a lot of stuff is natural and good. It's a German company, and then a store named Lidl is going to open up. They're going to be their competition. But like I found my old cookies that were good back in the day. Because now the ones you get in the store, I haven't eaten that stuff for years. It tastes different.
Yeah.
Like that got oatmeal ice raisin cookies, a cookie that I ordered. It was 85 cents. You go buy that in the market, it's like $4, and it tastes like shit. Yeah, I'm serious.
Yeah.
What I love is that a lot of farmers here, they like to grow their own stuff. Just small amounts of stuff, not just the big corn and all that soy and all that stuff. So there's a local place where we get our eggs. When we go and pick them up, we drive there, and it's like 5-10 minutes out from where we live. And if you go I went to the grocery store because we just need to hold over because we get about 6 dozen eggs for $10, and that this is cage-free, organic. They're not fed any grain unless just to supplement whatever that they need. And like at the store, the organic cage-free eggs, it's like $5.49.
Yep. Yep.
But my thing is,
or just a dozen.
They can't kill the chickens if they give them antibiotics. You gotta get out of the system if it do. Because I talked to the Amish about food. They know about it because the government be trying to push them to use the mosquitoes to spray their crops for their fruits and vegetables, and they say no, it's our religion. Yeah.
The eggs you get locally, though, they probably have an extremely yellow yolk.
Orange. It's very orange.
Beautiful.
From being healthy.
I normally never liked the like eggs over easy or eggs over medium was. I love eggs over easy now because the egg yolks just taste so good.
And they tell you that they eat it like that because you catch them because you put mustard in the food if you say that.
Some of the farmers have chickens that lay green eggs. They have the best yolks of all of them.
I've seen blue. I haven't seen green yet. I'm afraid of any green eggs though.
Blue and green might be the
that color he's talking about now.
Same species, different feed.
Yeah.
But they see that where I go to Reading Terminal with all of they got 5 or 6 days down there. They live in Lancaster, but it's impossible for them to bring stuff. They talked about they have land, they grow fruits and vegetables, and animals walk around like normal animals. if they get antibiotics, it has to get after symptoms. They don't even kill it. And I watch Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz give good tips too. They show them chickens, they pump them up so big with antibiotics that they are broken. They still sell it to the markets. And they sell it to us.
Yeah.
They could have an infection with that broken arm, but we won't know it.
Yeah.
But I know with chicken, when I see it, it's got to be small, and turkey wings have to be small. Yes.
And well, I have a family, a friend of the family. So my one of my brother-in-law's friends, he started raising his own chicken for eggs and built everything. Started up, and he had questions because his daughter brought home chickens from school, and they're able to keep it, and so they're raising it and start laying eggs, and so they did the whole thing, and it's like the easiest thing for them, and because. At first, the daughter helped, but she stopped. So just him. And he's just like, yeah, it's easy. We're probably going to get more, just the eggs and all this other stuff. And if you ever want chickens for eggs, it's like, I got plenty. And one of the problems he had was like, the chickens kept dying. So he's like, what's going on? It's like, it's all fenced in. There was an owl that was getting after the chickens.
Oh.
Interesting.
I have an owl around here, dude. Like, I hear it at night.
I love owls. They're
I can't stand them when they come around. They'll be up in my area. Woo! I can sleep. I feel like I'm danced out when the roosters and stuff and chickens will walk around on the dirt road. Yeah.
Late last winter, I saw it, or one of its relatives or whatever, and it was still, because they molt, like it was like stark white. It was huge. It's a huge owl. Like, it could carry away a small dog. They could carry away a puppy or something.
Wow.
Well, I know if we didn't eat the way we did, I don't think you would be here right now, especially putting them antibiotics. You should never took them, but they attacked that infection. He caught another one, but that's from the hospital. That ain't from him. With what he had.
Has anybody heard about
this crap after his bloodstream? It was fine.
There's been an outbreak of E. coli recently. Was that with romaine lettuce?
Yeah. It's always romaine lettuce. Always.
Yeah.
And all these, they make carrots and get rid of it.
Our school has banned all lettuce.
Oh.
Wow.
And some of our stores are banning more lettuce than just romaine. So here, the school cafeteria does not allow any lettuce of any form.
Wow.
Okay, so 67 cases nationwide, apparently.
Well, lettuce has almost no nutritional value beyond fiber, right? I mean, iceberg lettuce.
Well, iceberg for sure.
0.
Yeah, other lettuce that's more green, leafy green, green has more iron
They
and
should have been
stuff.
serving that to kids in the first place. Iceberg lettuce.
Yeah.
Give them something like kale or whatever.
Right.
Iceberg,
Do what?
Does it have nutritional value?
a little,
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, not
just a little.
not iceberg lettuce though. I think that's you're
Iceberg
right.
has a little.
Oh,
Not a
Mostly
lot.
just minerals and fiber, I would think.
That's you actually really don't need that many minerals per day.
but yeah, it is romaine lettuce that infection.
Yeah, that's the romaine that's on recall. It was on recall 7 months ago. Further in the year. Back in the year. It was recalled then. But iceberg never recalled. No.
Well, and another issue with these damn schools is that they're letting private industry come in and take over their lunch programs.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Chick-fil-A. Well, we'll not really get into that, but
Because sell Taco Bell at the damn school, it's ridiculous.
yeah,
Yeah, it is.
Well,
And the price goes up too.
Yep.
It's like
Yeah.
I looked at the price for my daughter's school lunch. It's like, oh my goodness, no way. That's just
What are they
pricey.
charging?
I think it's something like almost $3 per day for lunch.
Jeez.
Yeah, it should be free.
And we live in a crazy world. And I don't think they made their movies The Purge for nothing. Because a lot of people are getting the licenses for guns.
It's going to take something big. It's going to take a lot of people getting poisoned or something before people wake up. Like
gotta
back
do
in the day,
something.
like, you know, you could write a book and maybe it would strike a chord with people. Like, that isn't going to happen nowadays. Like, it's going to take something bad.
Yeah.
Like some city getting their, like, well, we've already had that and people ignore it. Flint. Like the city having their supply completely destroyed.
Flint, Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of water problems. Nobody.
They're going to have us
Flint's
fighting
worst
over water pretty soon. They're going to have all of us fighting over water. Yep.
Flint's worst problem is not lead. The chemicals that are in there are chloramine, which is most of Michigan, most of the United States anyway. It's a byproduct of when chlorine kills something in your water. And that's why you add chlorine to water, to kill stuff. And then the next one is we have a problem with chromium 6 in almost all of the water where there's been manufacturing, heavy manufacturing with steel, like the automotive industry or paint. And it was used a lot in metal treatment. It got into our groundwater. It's in the wells. When you see people on any of these interviews and they show the red water, you can't see lead in water. You're seeing iron, but the problem is the iron usually is accompanied by the lead. So the problem is that if people think the red means that they got lead, when the red goes away, the lead's still going to be there, but they're going to think it's cleaned up. So
the iron binds to the lead. Is that what you're saying?
No, it just floats off about the same time.
Okay.
What happens with the rashes they're getting and the illnesses they're getting, that's from the chloramine. They've been using chloramines not only to as a byproduct of chlorine, but they've been using it instead of chlorine because it can still kill bacteria. It's not healthy for organisms to be exposed to chloramine. So it's cheaper, and they'll put it in the water when a town's trying to save money. And it's a practice that's permitted almost everywhere in the country. It's bad, and there's a lot of chemicals in it. I'm not sure what other, but we're having a horrible problem with radium, and as well as nitrates in our water here. But we get our water from Wisconsin.
That's what happens when you live in farm country, Mitch. Yeah, they got the same problem with water as you do now.
Nitrates, but where's the radium coming from?
From the wells. So the water trickles down from a rocky layer underneath Iowa and Wisconsin called the driftless zone. So we live in the drip. We don't get our water from Nebraska like he does. Although, like he says, we have the same problem anyway. But in that case, every time we poke a well through the top of that layer, we break off the layer of radium that built underneath that. So we're constantly getting radium in our water just from the hundreds of thousands of wells that we've poked in. And of course, anytime water runs over anything, it dissolves it. So,
When I lived in the Southwest, it was arsenic was one of the bigger problems. There's naturally occurring arsenic, and
our arsenic is not zero.
Yeah,
but,
it was pretty high down there, and they had to institute something where, it showed up on your bill.
But guys, I'm ready to go because I
An
got to
itemized
go
part
ahead.
of your bill.
All right. See you, Shirley, and keep in touch.
Have a good
I don't
night.
know how I got on here. I was in chat rolling and scrolling. I must have Zoom and came in.
wait.
'Cause I didn't think
That's,
Oh,
that's good.
very nice to see you, Shirley. Sorry, I had to run upstairs for a
Same
sec.
here, Kelly. I'm gonna go
I hope
ahead.
your husband
I
is
hope everything
okay.
turns out all right.
Yeah, we'll be thinking about him.
I think it will. I really believe it will.
Okay.
But thanks. You guys keep him in prayer, and so he can get better. So we can.
Well, take care of yourself too,
Shirley, what was your husband's name again?
Curtis.
Curtis?
Curtis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, take
You
care of
find about
yourself.
biology.
Take care of yourself too, Shirley.
I will. Yeah, I will.
Okay. All right. Everybody, is everybody saying good night?
I'm gonna get out of here.
All right. Oh, I'll end the meeting. It was really
Let's
cool.
change some stuff up on here.
Bram could probably get you out.
Nice to have a little.
I'm here seeing myself. I'm about to go to bed. I was just watching and listening, and
You probably clicked on one of Bram's links in the chat. That's
Most
probably
likely. Yeah, that'll do it.
yeah, that's it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's very nice to see all of you. That some I haven't talked to in at least a year. Garden and Shirley.
Yeah.
I think it's been more like 2 with you.
No,
Maybe. Like I was on here, I think once.
I talked to you a couple of times.
Yeah, maybe a year ago, almost a year ago, probably.
It just seems like a long time.
I
But
guess
you know what?
so.
We've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
At least 3 years.
Yeah, at least 3 years.
Yeah.
And I've been just hunkered down.
We've been wasting our time this whole time. Think of the hundreds of thousands we could have raised for TYT.
Oh, yeah, no kidding, right?
Gotta end on a
The
note.
Bagger Jenks campaign. Like, I agree, I'm not one to pick up right-wing talking points, but I'll pick up that one. Daily Beast called Jenk a carpetbagger for what he's doing.
Oh,
And I think that's
yeah.
a fair definition. He
It
was not
is.
involved in that district's politics. I don't know if he lives there, but even if he does, he wasn't involved in the political goings-on of that district beforehand.
No.
And he's bringing in all this out-of-state cash and all this.
Yeah. Well, look how far we've come. Because remember, it was like maybe we were watching MSNBC, and then we're like, oh, TYT is great. And now we've learned how to spot bullshit like really fast now, right?
Right.
And we run away. So.
But I think what's worrisome is just now we're kind of no longer even watching alternative media.
I know. Yeah. I can't stomach it because I'm just tired of hearing about the whole Democratic primary. I feel like it's just a waste of time and, spend your energy elsewhere. So I'm kind of tired of it. What?
I don't have a lot of time anymore.
Oh, yeah, the polls.
I'm spending all my time training my robot minions and
Nice.
Well, there are
What are you
other.
training them to do?
I think the individual candidates are more, I know that they don't have much of a chance, but eventually maybe, I don't know. At least you feel like you're doing something worthwhile to spend energy on that. Right, Rich? On the individual candidate. Just spending, putting your efforts towards supporting your local candidate that,
Right.
I mean, that seemed like a more worthwhile effort than, I don't know, paying attention to the national races. And that's the opposite of how I used to be. And I think most people don't know what's going on in their own backyard. And they only watch when it's every 4 years they watch the presidential race because that's what's on TV.
No, the polls are just political astrology. I mean, let's be honest.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
for me
ridiculous.
it's basically over. I mean,
Our support outlier,
it's over
like
for us.
Gang. And Bernie's an outlier. He's an independent. He's not a Democrat.
The February 3rd, I don't have to worry about it anymore. They pack up the cameras, they send them out of Iowa, and nobody talks about us for another 4 years.
Yeah, like somehow you decide every election. It's
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're going.
What
It's
a
a
That was
racket.
very important.
Yeah, it really is.
Right. Well, it was really cool to see all of you guys. And we'll, I guess, we're on kind of late. So I guess that's
I got to get to bed.
that's the ticket, though. Everyone comes out of the woodwork late at night, right? Like before?
sometimes.
Yeah, but this was just a rare for me because normally I've got to be up so early to go to school.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Well, nice
Yeah,
to
the
see you
kids
all.
The
Right.
kids can sleep in the back of the class. I can't sleep.
No, that probably wouldn't work.
No.
All right, Garden, don't
What you got to do,
freeze up
Mitch,
there.
is you got to wear sunglasses, and just speak behind your desk. Just have like a folder over it, and just play a tape recording while you just kind of.
Just intimidate the kids
Yeah.
to a degree that you can go into the classroom and sleep if you want, and they will just shut up.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Wait, don't you teach classes, Carden?
Not like kinda, not really, not like Mitch does.
Oh, okay.
That's what teachers assistants are for, Mitch. Just hire a teacher's assistant.
I'm going to be asking for some. Because I had a tremendous load this semester. I only have to teach 6 courses next semester. I had to teach 9 this semester. And
9?
the other instructor had to go in the hospital. I had to take over some of his classes.
Oh my God!
Wow, that's a lot.
Didn't have a lot of time to prep for it, so next semester it'd be easier on me, or next fall when I actually have some time to prep some classes better. So like Tuesday, I'm just going to bring in parts and we're going to build a 3D printer in one of my classes.
Cool.
And I give little assignments like that, but since I'm the only one that knows how to build one, I have to stay awake.
Gotcha.
I'd imagine, like, this is a community college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine any community college is going to be lucky to have you there. So,
And I got in my engineering course, I decided, we're just going to make some circuit boards from scratch. I said, no, you guys you're asking me questions about circuit boards and stuff. And I said, you know what? We're going to make some. And I had to do the paperwork to bring the chemicals into the building. We actually never done it there before. I said, this is how you make circuit boards. And we're going to start from scratch. We're going to make the circuit board. We're going to etch it out.
That's pretty
we're going to
cool.
dispose of the waste, and you guys are going to solder it up.
I'm always saying for like younger kids that hands-on stuff, if you're actually doing something, you're learning more and you're more interested. But I guess that goes for 19, 20-year-olds too.
What I'm so confused about right now is they still need to know this stuff. But so much has come about in the last 20 years compared to what it was like when I was getting started in electronics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe we're still talking about 2-year degrees, associate degree. That I think our technicians need a 4-year degree. I think in many cases, engineering, like in Europe, an engineering degree now in many schools is a 6-year degree. That if we just keep 4 years like it was in the past, we're really not accounting for everything you had to learn.
well, if you can't sell someone a $10,000 car, you know what you do? You sell them a $2,000 car.
Without the tax.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's going on, except it has real world consequences when a bridge collapses or God knows what happens.
I wanted to ask you guys a question because I know, Mitch, you're into engineering. Bram, you're still into the computer scene. Gardner, you might be, but why don't they have fabrication plants here in the U.S.? I mean, it's Costa Rica, it's Taiwan, it's in China.
Yeah.
Labor and like our permissive trade.
Well, I was involved in that. I completely disagreed with a lot of the reasoning. One of the first ones, are we still alive?
Hang on. I'll fix that.
I think I'm alive.